Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud, never running out, never heading south. I'll be spreading out, call it word of mouth, can't put me down, I'll be getting loud. You can have your doubts, not what I'm about, have your fucking cloud, it be raining now, I keep making sound, go another round, bitch I'm legend bound, can't stop me now. You don't wanna fuck with me, a slow burn like a disease.
What is going on, everyone? And in this video I'll be giving you my UFC 278 main card predictions for the upcoming event taking place today, August 20th, 2022, Salt Lake City, Utah. Usman versus Edwards 2. Pretty solid main card. We're looking forward to it. Because I'm late to the party, real late to the party, I'm gonna go ahead and jump right into it. So in the first fight on the main card, we have Tyson Pedro taking on Harry Hunsucker in a light heavyweight bout. 8-3 for Pedro, and then 7-5 for Harry Hunsucker. And this is going to be a really good way to start off the main card. Obviously, I think they're anticipating someone to get knocked out. And so, you know, what better way to do that than with two guys that, well, one guy's getting knocked out the past 3 times he's fought. And then the other guy looks pretty fresh coming back, Tyson Pedro. For Tyson Pedro, he is coming into this fight with a victory. Coming off a lot of injuries. And then he had to kind of take some time off to get those figured out. But against, in his last fight against Villanueva, he was able to get that KO TKO in round number 1 towards the end of the fight. And that was a pretty solid performance for him. Looked pretty patient. He talked about how his previous fights, he wasn't really being patient, and that's kind of why he thought that he was getting wrecked. And then obviously with the injuries, so then he took some time off. So if we see a patient Tyson Pedro, I really do think he's really solid. He's not going to rush in there and just brawl with these guys that, you know, at the end of the day, you get knocked out by him. You make one mistake, you're getting submitted by them. So you can't be doing all that. And I think Hunsucker is literally another one of those guys, right? When you look at Hunsucker, you know, he loads up on his shots. He gets pretty wild. His defense drops. Dude really has moments where you could take advantage of them. But at the same time, he's not a guy that if you are trading with him, you run that risk of getting knocked out as well. Pretty decent hand speed, big power. You know, he did go for some submission. He'll go for like a submission while standing up. He'll get up, I guess, too, if he gets taken down. But I'm not really worried about Pedro taking him down or anything like that. I think more so you're gonna just see Hunsucker try to go for something crazy, go for something big, and then kind of get slapped just because Pedro's gonna pick his shots. He's gonna throw those leg kicks. That could be something here. We've seen Pedro get those leg kick TKO, and Hunsucker could definitely fall victim to that as well. And on top of that, you know, Hunsucker in his past couple fights, he's been fighting Samoans, right? So he lost to 3 Samoans basically, and now this is going to be the 4th guy that he's up against that he could lose to, and then so it'll be the 4th Samoan. So they're just feeding this guy guys that I think he's not going to be able to beat unless he knocks him out. And then obviously you're going to have a situation where Pedro's killing him again. So yeah, I think this is pretty much a fight for Pedro to just win and do it in a way where he kills him. So I'm gonna go Tyson Pedro on this one. I'm not gonna really think about it too much here, and then I'm gonna go ahead and take him to defeat Harry Hunsucker. You know, I'm gonna see what he can do early on, especially because I do think Hunsucker is gonna rush in and get it, just have like a little bit of a sloppiness to his striking, and it's gonna open up on top of the leg kicks and all that. So I'm gonna go Tyson Pedro to defeat Harry Hunsucker. I'm actually gonna take him to win in round number 1, KO TKO. In the second fight on the main card, we have a women's bantamweight bout between Yanan versus Lucie Pudilova. 12-5 for Yanan, and then 8-6 for Pudilova. This is going to be another fight that's hard to predict just because I think obviously you have Lucie Pudilova coming off of a little bit of a layoff, 2 years basically, more than 2 years I think. So that'll be interesting to see like how she's going to come back. You know, she came off 4 losses. Now, granted, you know, 3 of them were decision losses, you know, against Irene Aldana, pretty good split decision loss. And then Shevchenko was able to submit her. Antonina. Shevchenko was able to submit her. This fight is really not, I don't think it's gonna be too much of a good fight in my opinion, because both fighters aren't really necessarily like the most aggressive. Yanan is coming in here. You know, she bounces around a lot, but she's not necessarily throwing a lot. She has like little mini blitz combos, stays on the outside, pretty decent jab. But as far as, you know, being super aggressive or anything like that, she's not really that kind of opponent. The volume for me is just not there. And she's also coming off 3 losses. Granted, you know, again, all by, you know, decision and then 1 split decision. She got armbarred. I don't think either of these fighters, though, is necessarily going to take it to the floor. Maybe Yanan is going to be trying to being the one to take it to the floor. But I don't know. She's going to need to do something because she's not going to have the volume. And she can't get stuck on the outside of Pudilova and kind of just keep getting pieced up on the outside. Because as much as she stays on the outside against someone like Pudilova, she's going to need to close the distance on her. And then obviously for Pudilova, she's more of a rangy fighter. She does take the center. She does have good aggression, good kicks, high kicks, and then decent movement. But she's not going to be diving in for takedowns. And then she does struggle against a better grappler. So I guess if Yanan is the better grappler, she might be getting taken down. I think this is going to be a close fight. You know, we don't really know what we're going to get from Pudilova. You know, what she's been working on, the ring rust and whatnot. But at the same time, Yanan is not necessarily someone that I'm super aggressive to where, like, you know, I feel like Pudilova is going to get like knocked out here or something like that. So I'm going to go Lucie Pudilova. And I'm going to take her to defeat Yanan. I'll take her to win by a decision. In the third fight on the main card, we have Jose Aldo, 31-7, taking on Merab Dvalishvili, and he'll be 14-4. Both fighters are coming off of a win, and both fighters obviously top in the division of the bantamweights. Aldo's been around forever. He's still in there. He's still a nasty guy to be dealing with as far as the striking's concerned. Solid takedown defense. Really hard to be taking this guy down on multiple occasions. And even if you do it, it's not, you might not even win the fight. We saw that when Aldo took on Rob Font. You know, Rob Font was actually able to get a takedown in there, but he just started getting his ass beat over the course of those rounds in the latter rounds. And then Aldo was able to get that unanimous decision multiple times, dropped him, could have finished him. But obviously Font's very tough. But I mean, like, he just killed him. I mean, he's beat up Rob Font. Beat up Pedro Munoz. Obviously, Munoz only had a little bit one avenue to winning that fight, kind of, when it came to just loading up on shots. And, you know, Aldo's just a better striker. Against Vera, Aldo defeated Vera via unanimous decision. Close fight, very close fight. But at the same time, Aldo, I mean, look what Vera's doing right now, right? So I'd like to see that get ran back too, see what happens. And then he was, you know, he got finished by Peter Yan. KO TKO. But I mean, all these dudes are savages, and Aldo's just really tough. For Merab, he's coming into this fight over a victory over Marlon Moraes. But you know, not to take anything away from him, but I think a lot of this top, you know, Moraes isn't necessarily gonna be in the top anymore. He's coming off multiple losses. But either way, good win. And arguably, Moraes was the one winning the fight, and he kind of just threw and then gassed out, and Merab was able to take advantage of it. Against Stamen, he was able to get the unanimous decision. And then if you look at that, I mean, he pretty much, ever since losing to Ricky Simone and Frankie Saenz in the very beginning, he won unanimous decision. So he's not necessarily a finisher, but he's a guy who's going to take you down, right? That's his main game. And I think that's why this fight's so interesting, because Aldo has some of the best takedown defense you'll ever see, right? So if Aldo not getting taken down and this fight has to stay standing, yeah, I'm not confident at all in Merab's stand-up. I think Aldo's world-class, mixes in the kicks well, and you might think like, well, he could pick up, you know, he could counter off the kicks and then get the takedown, right? But his kicks are very fast, and you can't get kicked by Aldo too many times before your legs start going out a little bit. So I still think Aldo will kick. I still think Aldo will defend the takedowns very decently. My only thing would be is if Merab's just shooting in for takedowns like nonstop. Maybe that starts to drain Aldo a little bit, but we also see Aldo hang in there. And you got to think too, Merab getting failed takedowns, that's going to affect his cardio. Yeah, I mean, Aldo's very tough, great stand-up, better in the game. I mean, takedown defense just absolutely insane. You know, it's hard to put Aldo away too. You know, you're not going in. You really have to go in there and knock him out, like Jan did or Volkanovski did. So yeah, I mean, Merab just getting pieced up by Moraes. I don't think his stand-up game is anywhere near the level of Aldo. And he does have big power, but it's not clean, you know, for Merab. Once he gets dropped too, you know, he's going to look to grapple if he does get dropped in this fight. So I don't know. Against a guy who's has some of the best takedown defense ever, it's just, I'm not sure that's going to be enough for him. Now, I do think Merab's tough, right? So I don't know if Aldo's going to be able to put him away or anything like that. But I think we'll see a pretty competitive fight. But I really do think it's just a matter of, if Aldo's defending those takedowns, he's going to be lighting him up on the feet and just chopping away at him. And maybe he does get a finish late, but I got to go Aldo, man. I haven't seen anything for me to doubt him, at least in this division, at least against these guys. So I'm going to go Jose Aldo to defeat Merab Dvalishvili. I'll take him to win. I'll take him to win by a decision. And then we move on into the fourth fight, the co-main event of the evening. And we've got a pretty sketchy fight, of the night, number 2. Paulo Costa taking on Luke Rockhold. 13-2 for Costa, and then 16-5 for Rockhold. Now, if this fight took place, you know, I don't know, like when Rockhold was on top, I think I would be more inclined to pick him. I think I would say maybe he's going to look for those takedowns. He's going to look for the grappling. He's going to drain Costa out, and then he's going to go for the takedown. And when he gets the takedown, he's just going to be all over him, submit him, easy. But at the same time, we saw Costa, I would say, defended pretty good takedowns against Marvin Vettori, right? He wasn't getting taken down like 15 times in that fight. We've seen Marvin Vettori get takedowns against the top level people. And then he obviously got destroyed by Adesanya. But before that, now granted, we don't know, you know, PEDs, all this crazy stuff, right? But before that, he was knocking some people out. He went unanimous decision with Romero. That was one of the boringest fights I've ever seen in my life. But then you look at who he was knocking out, you're just like, I don't know about all that, right? You know, it's like Uriah Hall retired, Romero no longer in here, Johnny Hendricks, I mean, he's gone. And so it's like, but then when you look at his losses, it's like, okay, he didn't look absolutely horrible, right? I mean, against Adesanya, I think he just let it get to him too much, and he just performed really badly. And then obviously it's Adesanya, so, you know, what can you say about that? But against Marvin Vettori, so it's like, okay, let's see how this guy does against the guy who keeps fighting for the title, basically. And it's like, he did pretty decently, I think. He did start to gas, but like, he didn't give me a performance that really concerned me, right? It wasn't like, oh my god, he looked like trash. So yeah, that gave me a little bit more hope for him. Now, as far as Luke Rockhold's concerned, you know, he was getting KO'd by Romero, and then he got KO'd by Blachowicz, and it's like, okay, well, those are pretty good losses, right? Yes, but at the same time, I'm not sure if, you know, and then he got KO'd by Bisping. He beat David Branch. It was like, because he took him down, basically. And so the avenue here is like, okay, maybe Rockhold can win this fight if he gets the takedown and then he gets the submission or just beats him up on the floor, which I agree. But it's like getting to that point, and then Rockhold stand up. Is he going to be willing to get in there against Costa, run that risk of getting KO'd like pretty early on? Or is he going to like stay on the outside, go with the kicks to the body, you know, kind of just beat him up, gas him out, go for a lot of kicks, because he doesn't really have to worry about Costa taking him down. And so he's just piecing him up from the outside, going to the body, taking away his cardio. And then once his cardio starts to drain, then that's when Rockhold goes in there, gets the takedown, submits him, boom, got him. But it's like Costa has nasty power, big right kicks to him. But, you know, he has some pretty good shots as well. And so if he catches Rockhold's game plan, I just don't think Rockhold can take some of those shots. And that's what concerns me the most. It's like, oh yeah, of course, the younger Rockhold, the one that was in the game, might have done really well, but it's like now, you know, it's he could be winning the fight and then just one shot puts him to sleep. And that's kind of like what sketches me out a little bit. And it's kind of like Gustafsson, right? Because, you know, back in the day, Alexander Gustafsson, you saw the wars he was in. He was going to Daniel Cormier. He was beating up John Jones. He was fighting these killers, and he was making it look like, you know, I still got it. I can eat these shots. But then, unfortunately, you know, as of late, and probably, I don't really see him fighting anymore. I mean, he can't eat those shots anymore. And that's kind of the thing. It's like, if you can't eat those shots, then you're not going to be able to be competitive, because the other guy, yeah, he eats your high kick, right? And then next thing you know, he drops in one, boom, and then you just go to sleep. That's what I'm concerned about here. I don't think Costa is necessarily the best fighter on the planet. I actually think he's probably going to get beaten by a lot of people that either just have way better stand-up, that aren't loading up on their shots, and then obviously better grapplers. So yeah, the younger Luke Rockhold, I probably would be really confident in picking him, saying like he's just gonna grapple with him and make it look easy. But Rockhold's not necessarily giving me those vibes. That, I mean, he looks really motivated. I'll give him that, right? Rockhold looks really motivated, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, is this like an Alexander Gustafsson situation where he's just gonna get knocked out in the first round? And it's not really that Costa was like the better fighter, but it was like his chin just didn't hold up, so that's why he got it. So I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see what's gonna happen. And Rockhold is known, both of these guys are known for being cocky and stuff like that, because he called Yanan stiff and slow, and then he got knocked out by him. So it was like, okay, like, what are you talking about right now? And it's like you get flatlined by some of these guys, and that's why I think this is like an interesting matchup, because you got one, I guess you could say, I just don't really see Rockhold knocking out Costa. I really see him more of like taking him down and either winning by ground and pound or submitting him if Costa's like drained of all his energy. But then it's like that first round, you're telling me that Rockhold's gonna have to eat like a couple of these big ass shots for him. Like, man, this sketches me out too much. So I can't go Rockhold. Yeah, it'd be cool to see him win. It'd be cool to see him win pretty dominantly too, and then he can come back, talk his shit, and we can see how he's gonna do. Whether it's gonna be in this division, it might not even be in UFC. This guy's pretty upset with UFC with the pay and all this stuff. So we have to see how it plays out. But I gotta go Paulo Costa on this one, man. I think that first round we figure out who's getting absolutely crushed, and so I'm gonna go Paulo Costa. I honestly just feel like Rockhold could be winning the fight, and then he just gets caught, and it's like night. So maybe it's the other way around, man. You never know. But I'll go Paulo Costa defeat Luke Rockhold. I'll take it a win by KO in round number 1. In the main event of the evening, we have Kamaru Usman, a welterweight title bout, taking on Leon Edwards, the challenger. 21 for Usman, 19-3, and 1 no contest for Edwards. And so this fight, pretty close fight. Maybe not. Maybe it won't be a close fight. These fighters have fought before, and then Usman obviously won that fight via unanimous decision and got the victory over him. And that was pretty early on, I think. Yeah, that was his second fight inside of the UFC in 2015, almost 2016, because it was in December. And Usman was able to get 6 takedowns in that fight against him. Edwards did threaten a little bit with the grappling. I think, he's throwing up triangles and stuff like that, but Usman was able to maintain his composure and get the victory. Now, I will say, though, that was a very low volume fight. So I do think this fight could be one of those where it's not going to be the most exciting thing in the world. I mean, obviously, we've seen Usman stand up, improve, and then Leon Edwards, he's pretty fluid with his movement. He's not as, I don't want to say Usman's like stiff, right? He looks like but he's very tense when he fights, right? Whereas I think Edwards is going to be a little bit more of a loose fighter. But it doesn't really matter if Usman is getting the takedown constantly. And then, at that point, Edwards is suffering because he's just getting taken down and then he can't get back up. And then on top of that, I think Usman's striking has drastically improved. And that's why we're seeing him. Now he's getting the finishes. Now he's really beating up these guys. And when you're beating up someone like Colby Covington, as much as like people don't like him or whatever, I do think MMA wise, he's very good. So for Kamaru Usman, coming off that his previous win, against Colby Covington, beating him twice, knocking out Masvidal, I think that was a pretty savage win. Getting the finish against Gilbert Burns, tough fighter in Gilbert Burns. I mean, we've seen him, man. We saw his fight against Chimaev. Gilbert Burns is like not a guy that's easy to go down like that, and that's why like Burns was saying that like Usman would beat Chimaev because I ate harder shots from him or whatever. So I mean, yeah, and then he beat Tyron Woodley, decisioned him, Dos Anjos, Damian Maia. So he's been knocking out he's been destroying some pretty good guys, dominating them as far as the grappling is concerned. And now I think because he's so dominant in his grappling, he's able to work on a stand-up. And then obviously we can see that this proving to benefit him pretty well, and is opening up him just getting more knockdowns and getting those finishes. And so Edwards, you know, he's coming off that win against Nate Diaz. He played that fight safe. Obviously, I think you got to play fights like that safe because you don't want to get taken out by Diaz. But he was obviously beating Diaz up more. He got 4 takedowns in that fight. And then, you know, towards the very end of the 5th round, Diaz was able to wobble him a little bit and everyone went crazy. And stuff like that. Like, you know, if Usman's pressuring him, getting in his face, you know, obviously touching him a lot more just because his striking's improved and he's threatening in with the takedowns. Like, Usman could drown Edwards out over the course of 5 rounds. So when you look at it, I still think Usman is going to be the better fighter here. I think because his stand-up has improved drastically. Edwards now needs to worry about that. I'm not saying Edwards can't land some things here and there. I think if going for the leg kicks, but then you run the risk of getting taken down. But either way, Edwards doing anything that he can stop the machine, right? He needs to slow down this machine of Usman. And if he can do that, you know, maybe he has some, maybe he has something in that 4th and 5th round. But Usman, like I said, he's going to be aggressive. He's going to stay in his face and he's not really going to fold. So, you know, I'm not sure. I think Edwards' fights have been a little bit closer. I don't think he's been fighting top level competition, you know. Yeah, I mean, what he beat Donald Cerrone in 2018, Peter Sabata, Brian Barberena. But these weren't like better grapplers than him, right? And so yeah, for me, I still think Usman's probably going to be the better fighter. And Usman, like, he's been fighting, like, look at his past fights. It's been wars, right? So he's been in there. He knows what he's gonna get. I don't think Edwards is as scary as Covington or Masvidal even, or, you know, just take out all those guys. I don't think anyone's as scary as Gilbert Burns. And so Edwards is gonna have a pretty tough night, in my opinion. Now, whether or not he gets finished, I mean, we'll have to really see if that's gonna be a thing. As you can see there, minus 360, as Edwards is a plus 295. So he's pretty. You know, and even the odds to win by decision, a plus 800 for Edwards, which is what I think he can mainly win by. Or, you know, I the only way I see Usman losing is if he gets sloppy with a takedown or something like that, and the next thing you know, Edwards is able to get that submission victory. But again, Usman, I really don't think he's going to do that. And I think he's going to actually piece him up on the feet a little bit, work his jab, and it's going to be a pretty, it might not be the most exciting fight, but I think it could be a pretty just one-sided, oh, he won a decision kind of thing. So I'm going to go Kamaru Usman to defeat Leon Edwards. I'm going to take him to win by a decision. So that'll do it, guys, for my UFC 278 main card predictions for the upcoming event taking place tonight. Gonna be one hell of an event. Main card, looking forward to see that co-main event. See what I think that's actually the best fight. And I also think Aldo versus Merab is a pretty decent fight as well. So we'll have to see how all that plays out. So thank you guys for listening. Uploaded this one pretty late, so I have to get back on that. But a lot of moving and stuff right now. So mentally, you know, no excuses, but a little bit tired. So thank you guys for watching. Leave your comments down below. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Tell me who you're picking. I'll see you guys in the next video.